Get away from this aircraft. You do not belong here, Captain William Hargrove shouted, his voice cutting across Gate 32 like an alarm. Conversations stopped. Rolling suitcases slowed. Even the gate scanner fell silent for a moment. Dr. Simone Carter stood beside the open jet bridge door, one hand holding a slim tablet and the other resting calmly at her side. She was 47, dressed in a charcoal blazer, cream blouse, dark slacks, and low black shoes. Nothing about her appearance announced the authority attached to her name. That was intentional. Meridian Air had received 12 internal complaints in 6 months about unequal treatment during boarding, and Simone had arrived without an entourage to observe the process herself. William stepped closer in his captain's uniform, silver stripes bright beneath the terminal lights. "This area is restricted," he said. "Passengers wait behind the boarding line." Simone looked at the identification badge clipped inside her blazer. "I am not waiting to board." "Then you have even less reason to be here." His eyes moved over her clothing, then settled on the tablet. "Whatever you are selling, take it somewhere else." A few passengers exchanged uncomfortable glances. Olivia Bennett, the junior gate supervisor, approached from the podium with a handheld scanner. "Captain." She presented an access credential. William turned sharply. "Did you verify it?" "The system accepted it." Systems accept mistakes every day. Simone opened the badge holder and extended it toward him. "You may verify it again." William barely looked. "People print convincing credentials now. I am not risking the safety of my aircraft because someone wants to feel important." Simone's expression remained controlled, but the air around her seemed to harden. "Your aircraft?" she asked. William folded his arms. "I command this flight. Then command it professionally." The reply was quiet, but it carried farther than his shouting had. Olivia glanced down at the scanner. Beside Simone Carter's name appeared a code she had seen only during executive training: Board Safety Oversight. Her eyes widened. "Captain, this credential has corporate authorization." William dismissed her with one hand. "Stay out of this, Olivia." "But the code is valid." "I said stay out of it." Simone watched the young supervisor lower the scanner, caught between rank and truth. It was a familiar moment. Authority often depended on how many people were willing to remain silent beneath it. William reached for the radio clipped near his shoulder. "I am calling airport security. You can explain your fake badge to them." Simone did not move. Around them, passengers had begun watching openly. One man lowered his phone. A woman near the priority lane whispered that Simone had not raised her voice once. William mistook her stillness for uncertainty. "Last chance," he said. "Walk away before this becomes embarrassing." Simone closed her tablet with a soft click. On its screen was an unfinished safety audit bearing William Hargrove's name, along with 3 prior complaints that had never reached the board. She met his eyes without anger. "Captain, this became embarrassing the moment you decided my face made a valid credential suspicious." William's jaw tightened. "Do not accuse me of something you cannot prove." Simone glanced toward Olivia's scanner. "The proof is already in her hand." Olivia looked down again. The executive code remained bright on the screen. William stepped between them. "I decide who approaches my aircraft." Simone's voice dropped, calm and exact. "No, Captain. You decide whether you are qualified to fly it." William's expression hardened, but Simone's calm made it impossible for him to dismiss her as easily as he had planned. Olivia remained beside the gate podium, the handheld scanner still displaying Simone's name and the board safety oversight code. Passengers near the priority lane watched in silence, no longer pretending the confrontation was routine. William lowered his radio but did not put it away. "You do not have the authority to question my fitness for duty," he said. Simone opened her tablet again. "I have not questioned it yet. I have documented your conduct." His eyes narrowed. "Documented for whom?" "The people responsible for deciding whether Meridian Air's safety culture exists only in training manuals." Olivia looked from Simone to William. "Captain, the credential also shows unrestricted operational review access." William turned toward her. You are reading a code you do not understand. I completed executive access training last month. Then you should understand that rank matters. Olivia's grip tightened around the scanner. So does verification. The answer was soft, but it changed the balance of the moment. William stepped closer to the podium and lowered his voice. You are a junior supervisor. Do not risk your position over a passenger with a tablet. Simone heard every word. She is not risking her position, she said. She is doing her job. William looked back at her. You are interfering with boarding. Boarding has not begun. Because you are standing in a restricted area. Simone turned slightly and pointed toward the blue line marked on the terminal floor. Her shoes remained outside the jet bridge threshold. I have not crossed the restricted boundary. Several passengers looked down and saw that she was right. William had created a security violation in his own telling, then placed her inside it without evidence. A man waiting near the window spoke quietly. She has been standing there the entire time. A woman beside him nodded. The scanner accepted her badge before the captain came over. William looked toward the witnesses with visible irritation. This is an operational matter. Please remain out of it. Simone studied him. You wanted a public accusation. You do not get to demand private witnesses afterward. Olivia stepped closer and held out the scanner. Captain, please look at the full authorization screen. William did not take it. I have already made my decision. Simone's voice became even quieter. That is the problem. You made the decision before reading the information. William finally looked at the screen, but only for a second. The code, photograph, and corporate authorization were clear. Still, he shook his head. Corporate credentials do not override cockpit command. No one has asked to enter your cockpit, Simone replied. I am conducting a gate procedure observation. Without notifying me? An observation loses value when everyone is warned in advance. His face shifted. For the first time, uncertainty appeared beneath the anger. Who authorized this inspection? Simone looked at the 3 silver stripes on his shoulder, then at the scanner in Olivia's hand. The same board committee that reviewed the complaints attached to your employee record. William went still. Behind him, the aircraft sat connected to the jet bridge, quiet and waiting. Beyond the windows, ground crews moved beneath the late afternoon sun. Inside Gate 32, the air felt charged. Olivia glanced at Simone's tablet and noticed the file name near the top of the screen. Flight Operations Conduct Review. William saw it too. You have no right to access my record, he said. Simone met his stare. Then you should be very interested in learning why I do. William looked at Simone's tablet as though the file itself had betrayed him. The anger in his face did not disappear, but it changed direction. It was no longer aimed only at her. Now it was aimed at the possibility that someone beyond Gate 32 had been watching. Those complaints were closed, he said. Simone did not look down at the screen. They were categorized as communication issues. Because that is what they were. Olivia glanced at the scanner, then at the passengers gathered near the priority lane. Captain, the file shows 3 unresolved conduct flags. William turned sharply. You are not authorized to discuss personnel records in public. Neither were you authorized to accuse her of carrying a fake credential in public, Olivia replied. Her voice trembled slightly, but she did not retreat. The nearby passengers heard it. So did the first officer, Daniel Kerr, who had just stepped out of the jet bridge after completing his exterior inspection. He stopped near the aircraft door and surveyed the scene. Captain, is there a problem? William answered before anyone else could. This woman is attempting to interfere with flight operations using questionable corporate access. Simone faced Daniel. My credential has been verified twice. Olivia raised the scanner. It is valid. Daniel looked at the code, then at Simone. Recognition did not reach him, but caution did. What access are you requesting? Observation of boarding procedures and review of the crew response to prior service complaints, Simone said. William stepped between them. She is not coming near the aircraft while I am in command. Daniel's eyes shifted toward the blue boundary line. Simone was still standing outside it. Has she attempted to enter the jet bridge? He asked. Not yet, William said. Simone's expression sharpened. Not at all. Daniel remained quiet for a moment. The distinction mattered. William had turned possibility into accusation and then treated his own assumption as evidence. Simone opened the incident file and entered the exact time. William watched her type. Stop recording me. I am creating written notes. Without my consent? Employee conduct during active operations is subject to review. He gave a short laugh. You sound like someone who memorized a handbook and thinks that makes her important. The words carried across the gate. Several passengers shifted uncomfortably. Olivia lowered the scanner for a moment, then raised it again. Captain, her authorization is not temporary. It is attached to board safety oversight. William's eyes flashed. You do not know what that means. I know it is above station access. And I know this aircraft better than anyone standing here. Simone closed the tablet. Technical experience does not excuse professional misconduct. His face tightened. You think a corporate title makes you qualified to judge a pilot? The question pulled Simone backward 30 years. She was 17, standing behind a chain-link fence at a municipal airport in Georgia, watching student pilots walk toward training aircraft beneath the summer sun. She had asked an instructor how to apply for the aviation program. He had looked at her carefully, then pointed toward the terminal and suggested customer service instead. The cockpit required a certain temperament, he had said. Simone remembered the polite smile, the certainty, and the way he had decided her limits before learning her name. She earned her engineering degree anyway, then a doctorate in aviation systems, then 2 decades designing safety programs for airlines that once refused to imagine her in leadership. The memory did not weaken her, clarified the moment. My title is not what qualifies me, she said. My record does. William raised the radio again. I am requesting airport security. Daniel stepped forward. Captain, that may not be necessary. William stared at him. Are you questioning my command? I am asking whether we have an actual security concern. Olivia answered before William could. We do not. The statement landed cleanly. William looked around and realized the authority he had expected to move automatically behind him had begun to hesitate. Simone unlocked her phone and selected one contact. You wanted this escalated, she said. Now it will be. William gave a dismissive smile. Call whoever you think will impress me. Simone pressed the call button. I am not calling to impress you. I am calling to determine whether this flight leaves with you in command. The call connected before William could answer. Simone, said a calm male voice. I have the gate feed and the credential log in front of me. It was Nathan Cole, secretary to Meridian Air's Board Safety Committee. Simone kept her eyes on William. Place Flight 417 on a temporary operational hold. Preserve the gate communications, credential scans, and crew radio traffic from the last 15 minutes. William stepped forward. You cannot hold my flight over a disagreement. Nathan heard him through the phone. Captain Hargrove, this is not being classified as a disagreement. The color in William's face shifted. Who is this? Board administration. The answer was simple, but it changed the temperature around gate 32. Olivia looked down at the scanner as a red notification appeared across the screen. Departure hold pending safety review. Daniel Kerr glanced toward the aircraft, then back at William. The captain's radio sounded almost immediately. A dispatcher's voice confirmed that Flight 417 would remain at the gate until further notice. William pressed the radio button. Dispatch, this hold is unnecessary. We have a credential dispute, nothing more. Simone spoke before dispatch could respond. The credential was verified twice. The issue is your refusal to accept the verification. William turned toward her. You approached my aircraft without notifying the cockpit. I stood outside the restricted boundary with authorized oversight access. You concealed your purpose. I observed your conduct. Passengers near the priority lane had begun exchanging quiet comments. A middle-aged man holding a briefcase stepped closer to Olivia. "I heard the captain accuse her of using a fake badge before he even looked at it," he said. Olivia entered his name into the incident record. A woman traveling with her teenage daughter added, "He told the supervisor to ignore the scanner." Another witness nodded. "And he threatened security even though she never crossed the line." William looked toward them with frustration. "You are hearing fragments of an operational conversation." Simone's gaze remained steady. "Then the full record will help you." Nathan's voice returned through the phone. "The board committee has located 3 previous complaints involving Captain Hargrove. All were closed at the station level without board review." Daniel's expression changed. 3. William looked at him sharply. "Those were misunderstandings." Simone opened the files on her tablet. One black maintenance engineer was accused of entering the wrong aircraft despite wearing a valid badge. One Latina first officer reported being questioned about whether she was part of the cabin crew. One black family was threatened with removal after asking why their boarding group had been skipped. William shook his head. "You are combining unrelated incidents. Patterns often look unrelated to the person repeating them." The words landed quietly. Olivia lowered the scanner, no longer afraid to meet his eyes. William turned toward Daniel. "Return to the cockpit and prepare the aircraft." Daniel did not move. "The flight is on hold. I am still captain, and operations has suspended departure." For the first time, William's authority met a boundary it could not shout through. Simone remembered the instructor who had once told her the cockpit required a certain temperament. She wondered how many people had mistaken volume for leadership since then. William reached for the radio again. "I want the chief operating officer at this gate." Simone gave Nathan one final instruction. "Ask the chief executive officer and vice president of flight operations to join us. Also notify crew scheduling that a reserve captain may be required." William stared at her. "You think you can replace me?" Simone lowered the phone. "No, Captain. Your conduct is making that decision necessary." William's demand hung over Gate 32, but no one rushed to satisfy it. Simone remained beside the blue boundary line, her tablet open to the incident record, while Olivia continued adding witness names with steady hands. Daniel stood near the jet bridge entrance, no longer positioned as William's subordinate in the argument, but as a crew member waiting for formal direction. The captain looked from one face to another, searching for the obedience that had always followed his uniform. This time it did not come. "I am responsible for everyone on that aircraft," he said, "and you are delaying a full flight because you refuse to respect command authority." Simone looked toward the waiting passengers, then back at him. "Command authority exists to protect people. It does not exist to protect your assumptions." William gave a bitter laugh. "You have already decided what I am." "No," Simone replied. "I am documenting what you chose to do." Nathan remained on the phone. His voice came through clearly. "The chief executive officer and vice president of flight operations are approaching Gate 32 now. Crew scheduling has identified a reserve captain who can report within 20 minutes. William's expression tightened. "A reserve captain? Before anyone has even heard my side." Olivia lifted the scanner. "Your side is included in the gate communications." The answer came without accusation, and that made it harder to dismiss. William turned toward her. "You think a few months in gate operations makes you qualified to judge a captain?" Olivia swallowed, but she did not lower the device. "No, I think a valid credential should be accepted after the system verifies it." A murmur moved through the priority line. The sentence was simple, yet it reduced the entire conflict to the fact William had spent 15 minutes avoiding. Simone watched Olivia stand inside the truth despite the difference in rank. Courage rarely arrived looking fearless. More often, it arrived with a trembling voice that refused to disappear. William pointed toward Simone's tablet. "She came here looking for a reason to damage my career." Simone's gaze sharpened. "I came here because 3 people reported that your authority became suspicion whenever the person in front of you was not white." William's jaw tightened. That is a serious accusation. So were the accusations you made against me. He looked toward the passengers, aware now that every word had witnesses. I questioned an unfamiliar person near an aircraft. That is called security awareness. Simone turned the tablet so he could see the credential log. Security awareness ends when verification confirms access. Bias begins when you reject the verification because it conflicts with the conclusion you already chose. William did not answer. Footsteps approached from the concourse. A woman in a dark blue suit entered the gate area beside a tall man carrying a flight operations identification badge. Olivia recognized them immediately. Chief Executive Officer Rebecca Sloan and Vice President of Flight Operations Martin Ellis. Rebecca's eyes moved first to Simone, then to William, then to the red departure hold on the gate screen. "Dr. Carter," she said. "We came as soon as board administration notified us." William looked at Simone. The title reached him before the meaning did. "Doctor." Martin opened a secure crew file on his tablet. "Captain Hargrove, you are being removed from Flight 417, pending a formal conduct and fitness review." William stared at him. "You have not even asked what happened." Rebecca's voice remained calm. "We have the credential scans, radio traffic, witness statements, and your prior unresolved complaints. We are not making a final disciplinary decision at the gate. We are making an operational decision before departure." William looked toward the aircraft. "That is my command." Simone closed her tablet. "Not tonight." Rebecca stepped beside her and faced the waiting crew. "Captain Hargrove, you have been shouting at the director of Meridian Air's Board Safety and Ethics Committee, the person responsible for reviewing whether this airline's command culture protects passengers and employees equally." The gate fell silent. William's face lost its certainty. His eyes returned to Simone's plain blazer, as though the authority should have announced itself sooner. "I did not know who she was," he said. Simone held his gaze. "That is not the truth you think it is. You are saying you would have shown respect only if you had known I could hold you accountable." William stood beneath the red departure notice, surrounded by the evidence of what he had done and the authority he had failed to recognize. The silver stripes on his shoulders had not changed, but they no longer controlled the gate. Martin Ellis held the secure crew file open while Rebecca Sloan reviewed the statements Olivia had entered. Simone remained beside the boundary line, composed, her tablet closed against her side. "I followed security procedure," William said, but the certainty had left his voice. Martin looked at the credential log. "Procedure required you to verify access and continue operations once the credential was confirmed. I believed the system could be wrong." Olivia answered carefully. "You did not contact corporate security to check the system. You rejected the result." Rebecca turned toward William. "You also ordered a junior supervisor to ignore verified information, threatened airport security against an authorized board representative, and continued escalating after the first officer questioned whether any security concern existed." William looked toward Daniel Kerr. "You should have supported your captain." Daniel remained near the jet bridge entrance. "I support safe command. I do not support turning an assumption into an emergency." The words settled over the gate. William's face tightened. "Everyone is judging this after learning who she is." Simone stepped forward by one measured pace, still remaining outside the restricted line. "No, they are judging what you did before learning who I was." She opened her tablet and displayed the timeline. "At 4:12, my credentials scanned successfully. At 4:13, Olivia confirmed corporate authorization. At 4:14, you called it fake without examining the full record. At 4:16, you threatened security. At 4:19, you dismissed the board access code. At every stage, the facts gave you a way to correct yourself." William stared at the timestamps. "I was protecting the aircraft." "From what?" Simone asked. He looked at her, but no answer came. She continued, "I did not enter the jet bridge. I did not approach the cockpit. I did not interfere with the crew. The only threat you identified was a black woman standing near an airplane with authority you could not imagine belonged to her. Passengers in the priority line remained silent. The statement did not need their approval. Their witness reports had already supported it. Rebecca looked toward Martin. Has the reserve captain confirmed availability? Yes. Captain Laura Mitchell will arrive in 12 minutes. William turned sharply. You are replacing me before the investigation is complete. Martin's tone remained professional. You are being removed from active duty pending review. That is an operational precaution, not a final disciplinary finding. William looked at Simone. And she gets to decide my career? Simone met his gaze. No. Evidence decides what happens next. That is the difference between oversight and prejudice. Olivia lowered the scanner, but her shoulders remained straight. Rebecca turned to her. Your statement will go directly to board ethics. You are protected from retaliation. Olivia nodded. Thank you. William heard the promise and glanced toward her, understanding that the employee he had tried to silence would now speak without his rank standing over her. Martin instructed him to surrender flight documents and report to operations. William removed the paperwork from his case and handed it over. His movements were restrained, but the loss of command was visible in every pause. Before leaving, he faced Simone one last time. Had you introduced yourself properly, none of this would have happened. Simone's expression did not change. I presented valid identification. What you wanted was a title impressive enough to overcome your bias. William looked away. Rebecca stepped beside Simone as he walked toward the operations corridor. No applause followed him. No one celebrated. Accountability arrived quietly, carrying a record, a process, and consequences. Simone watched him disappear, then turned toward the waiting aircraft. Release the flight when the reserve captain completes the safety briefing, she said. Martin nodded. And the prior complaints? Rebecca asked. Simone reopened her tablet. Reopen all of them. This did not begin today, and it cannot end with one replacement. Captain Laura Mitchell arrived at gate 32 11 minutes later, carrying a flight case and the composed focus of someone who understood that command began long before an aircraft left the ground. Martin briefed her privately near the podium while Daniel returned to the jet bridge to prepare the cockpit transition. Simone stood with Rebecca and Olivia beside the gate screen, where the red operational hold still glowed above Flight 417. Passengers waited with less impatience now. They had watched authority fail, and they understood that the delay was not caused by the woman who had been shouted at. It was caused by the man who refused to believe her credentials because he could not imagine her holding them. Laura approached Simone after completing the briefing. Dr. Carter, I have reviewed the operational summary. The aircraft can depart safely once the crew confirms the command transfer. Simone nodded. Then complete the process without rushing it. A schedule is never more important than a safe culture. Laura glanced toward Olivia. I also read the gate supervisor's statement. Olivia straightened. I documented everything I could remember. You did more than remember, Laura said. You verified the facts when rank was pressuring you to ignore them. Olivia looked down briefly, still absorbing the recognition. Rebecca opened the prior complaint files on her tablet. Each one carried the same language that had protected William before. Misunderstanding, communication problem, heightened security concern. Simone read the phrases slowly. These labels did not resolve anything, she said. They erased the pattern. Martin joined them after receiving confirmation from crew scheduling. William has reported to operations. His active flight status is suspended pending formal review. Rebecca looked toward Simone. The board will want recommendations tonight. Simone's answer came without hesitation. Independent review of every complaint connected to command discrimination. Mandatory scenario training for captains and supervisors. Direct board access for employees who believe local management is burying a report. And no retaliation against anyone who verifies facts against a senior employee's judgment. Olivia raised her eyes. Would that apply to gate staff too? Especially gate staff, Simone said. The first person who sees the truth is often the person with the least authority to protect it. Rebecca entered each condition into the board file. Nearby, several passengers offered contact information as witnesses. No one filmed a dramatic statement. No one needed to. Their names, times, and observations were stronger than spectacle. Laura returned from the aircraft and addressed the waiting passengers. Flight 417 will begin boarding in approximately 10 minutes under a new command crew. Thank you for your patience. A quiet sense of relief moved through the gate. Simone looked toward the open jet bridge. She had come to inspect a boarding procedure. Instead, she had uncovered a command culture that treated doubt as evidence whenever power wore the wrong face. Olivia stepped beside her. Dr. Carter, may I ask something? Of course. Did you know Captain Hargrove would react that way? Simone considered the question. I knew the complaints suggested a pattern. I did not know whether he would choose to repeat it when given another chance. Olivia looked toward the operations corridor where William had disappeared. He had many chances to stop. Yes, Simone said. Accountability begins by counting them. Rebecca closed the tablet. The official board introduction will happen tonight. Simone shook her head gently. Do not make this about introducing me. Make it about why a verified black woman needed an introduction before a captain accepted the truth. The gate grew quiet around them. Then Simone looked at the aircraft waiting beyond the glass and spoke with the same calm that had carried her through every accusation. Authority does not excuse prejudice. It makes prejudice more dangerous. Boarding resumed beneath a different atmosphere. Olivia stood at the gate podium with the scanner in her hand, no longer shrinking beneath the authority that had tried to silence her. Captain Laura Mitchell greeted each passenger with calm professionalism before stepping through the jet bridge to complete the final cockpit checks. Daniel Kerr remained inside the aircraft, reviewing the command transfer without shortcuts. Simone watched the process from the same place where William had first ordered her to leave. The blue boundary line had not moved. Only the truth around it had changed. Rebecca stood beside her, reading an update from board administration. The prior complaints have been formally reopened, she said. Independent investigators will contact the maintenance engineer, the first officer, and the family involved in the earlier incidents. Simone nodded. Make sure none of those interviews go through local management. They will report directly to board ethics. Martin approached with William's preliminary operational status on his tablet. He has been removed from scheduled duty for the remainder of the review. Flight records and training evaluations are being preserved. Simone looked at the screen but did not celebrate. Removing one captain could protect one departure. It could not repair a system that had repeatedly converted prejudice into paperwork and called it misunderstanding. Do not let the investigation become a search for one bad moment, she said. Examine who received the complaints, who changed the language, and who decided the pattern was not worth escalating. Rebecca entered the instruction. The board will also review station leadership. Olivia heard the words from the podium. For months, she had watched junior employees raise concerns only to be told that experienced leaders understood the situation better. Now the decisions above them would be examined as carefully as the conduct below. A passenger approached Olivia and offered his contact information. I heard everything from the first accusation, he said. She never crossed that line. Olivia thanked him and added his name to the witness list. The woman traveling with her teenage daughter stepped forward next. My daughter asked why the captain kept ignoring the scanner, she said. I did not have a good answer. Simone looked toward the girl, who stood quietly beside her mother. Tell her the scanner was never the problem, Simone said. The problem was a person deciding the facts could not be true. The mother nodded, understanding more than she wanted to. Laura returned to the gate after completing the briefing. The aircraft is ready under the replacement command crew, she told Martin. All safety checks are complete. Martin authorized the release request, and the red hold on the gate screen changed to amber. Boarding would begin in 3 minutes. Rebecca turned toward Simone. Will you still conduct the observation? Yes. After everything that happened? Simone looked toward the priority lane. Especially after everything that happened. Olivia scanned the first passenger through. Then the second. She greeted each person with the same tone, checked each credential by the same standard, and allowed the verified information to guide her decisions. Simone observed quietly, making notes without drawing attention to herself. No one announced her title over the speaker. No one asked passengers to applaud. The correction was visible in the process, not in a performance. When the final boarding group was called, Olivia stepped away from the podium for a moment. "Dr. Carter, I thought being professional meant never challenging someone above me." Simone closed her tablet. Professionalism does not mean protecting rank from truth. It means protecting people from the misuse of rank. Olivia looked toward the aircraft. "I will remember that." Simone gave her a small nod. "Make sure the system remembers it too." The gate screen turned green. Flight 417 was cleared to depart, not because the airline had ignored the disruption, but because it had finally confronted the cause. Flight 417 pushed back from Gate 32 beneath the fading light of evening, carrying passengers who had witnessed more than a delay. They had watched a uniform demand obedience, a scanner present the truth, and a junior supervisor choose facts over fear. Simone remained in the terminal with Rebecca, Martin, and Olivia as the aircraft taxied toward the runway under Captain Laura Mitchell's command. Through the wide glass windows, the plane turned slowly, its navigation lights blinking against the darkening sky. Rebecca's tablet sounded with a message from board administration. "The emergency ethics session is confirmed for 8 tonight," she said. "The independent review has been authorized, and preservation notices have been issued for every complaint connected to Captain Hargrove." Simone looked at the aircraft until it disappeared beyond the terminal structure. "Include the station-level decisions that prevented those complaints from reaching us." Martin nodded. "Flight operations will provide the complete chain of review." Olivia remained beside the podium after the last passengers had boarded, organizing the witness records with careful precision. The scanner rested near her hand, the same device William had dismissed when its answer did not match his assumptions. Simone approached her. "You should submit your statement before the end of your shift while the sequence is still clear." Olivia nodded. "I already started it. Use exact language. Do not soften what happened to protect anyone's title." Olivia looked at the empty gate. "That is what they did with the older complaints, is it not?" Simone's expression grew thoughtful. "They changed discrimination into miscommunication, intimidation into leadership style, and silence into resolution. Why? Because accurate language creates responsibility." Olivia absorbed the answer. Rebecca joined them and turned her tablet so Simone could see the proposed board notice. It stated that Meridian Air would begin an independent command culture investigation, create direct reporting access to board ethics, protect employees who challenged unsupported security claims, and require scenario-based bias training for captains, supervisors, and station leaders. Simone read every line. "Add measurable deadlines," she said. "Training within 30 days. Complaint review results within 60. Quarterly reporting to the board for the next 2 years." Rebecca entered the changes. "And Captain Hargrove?" "He receives a fair investigation," Simone replied. "The evidence must determine the outcome. We do not correct abused authority by replacing it with another kind." Martin closed the operational file. The reserve crew reported a normal departure. No safety issues. Simone nodded. That was the result command authority was supposed to create. A safe flight, a trusted process, and decisions grounded in evidence. William had treated questioning him as a threat to safety. In reality, refusing to question him had been the greater danger. Olivia removed her badge at the end of her shift, then paused before leaving. "Dr. Carter, when he shouted at you, were you angry?" Simone looked across the nearly empty terminal. "Yes." Olivia seemed surprised. "You never showed it." Control does not mean the absence of anger. It means deciding what the anger will build. Olivia glanced toward the runway lights. Today it built an investigation. Tomorrow it needs to build a better system. They walked together toward the concourse, passing passengers rushing for connections and employees preparing for the next departure. No one recognized Simone. No one announced that a board director had crossed the terminal. She did not need them to. Her authority had never depended on being seen. It depended on what changed after she saw something wrong. At 8 that evening, Meridian Air's board accepted the reform framework and ordered every unresolved complaint reopened under independent review. Simone ended the meeting with one statement entered into the permanent record. A title does not make prejudice less dangerous. A uniform does not make an assumption true. Authority earns trust only when it answers to facts. Then she closed the file. Flight 417 was already thousands of feet above the ground, moving safely toward its destination. At gate 32, the blue boundary line remained exactly where it had always been. The standard beside it had changed forever.